Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Thursday. As you are listening to the show today, we have pre-recorded our conversation and we've got a newbie on the show with us today, but she's got a really cool program that she is going to fill us in on the details for. We are chatting today with Mariama Dryak. She is the program coordinator for the Friends of the North Fork of the Shenandoah River. And Mariama, thank you so much for agreeing to come and have a conversation with me about the organization and this really cool Voices of the Shenandoah program.
Thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
So tell me a little bit about the Friends organization itself. What is it? How does it work?
Great question. Friends of the North Fork of the Shenandoah River is a membership-based organization based in the Valley out of Woodstock, Virginia, but we work in the entire watershed of the North Fork of the Shenandoah River, which I can go into a little bit more about later. We were established in 1988 by a whole bunch of landowners working towards advocating for clean water and making sure we're keeping the watershed healthy. Our specific mission is to keep the North Fork clean, healthy, and beautiful through advocacy, community action, education, and science. And so our programs are aligned with that. And we have a small team of staff, and we rely on so many wonderful volunteers to help us coordinate programming, the delivery of that in terms of education, science, and community action.
I can't imagine what a big job it is trying to keep the river clean when so many people enjoy it on a daily basis. Very, very relevant. And so many people drink water from it and rely on it for life, along with industry. So there are so many moving parts, and we do our best to just help make sure people know how relevant river health is to everybody. I also didn't know how important volunteers were to the organization. I always kind of thought that you guys had this team of staff members or corporate people that took care of this stuff. I had no idea that you're looking for Joe Smith down the road to help you with programs and the actual cleanup in some cases.
We are, yeah. We have, as I said, a small team of really hardworking staff, but the way that we actually complete river cleanups and the way that we actually are able to plant trees for riparian buffer programs to help filter water before it meets the river is through hardworking people who are connected to the river.
And you've got these really cool programs that you guys have been doing for a lot of years, and they all relate back somehow to the Shenandoah River. I love this one in particular that we're going to talk about today, Voices of the Shenandoah. Tell me how it came to be. Is this the first time you've done this type of a program?
It is, yes. So actually, my colleague Daisy was racking her brain. We were all racking our brains about what to do to help bring people together during COVID and in this time where everyone was so disconnected necessarily. And one of her thoughts was to connect people through storytelling and to connect with people through hearing each other's stories. And so it was born there. The seed of the idea was planted there. And then as a team, we kind of came up with the idea of adding music into the mix, because music is also a thing that brings people together. breweries and sharing in food and drink is another aspect of community, and having fun and connecting with people in those spaces. And so from that was born this series, Voices of the Shenandoah, where we are relying on community members to tell stories. Some are funny, some are a roller coaster, some are musical in nature, about their experiences on the river for the first part of each event. And then we get to be entertained by wonderful live musicians at these local venues all throughout the valley. It's fantastic.
And this particular series is a 3-part series. You've already done one at Pale Fire Brewing. It was on July 15th. How did it go? Kind of walk me through what it was like that night.
Oh my goodness. It was marvelous. It was more than I dreamed it to be because it was the first time we were doing this. So that particular event started at around 7 in the evening, and we had I want to say everyone was a storyteller, but we had 3 different stories specifically. We had a musician who had written music specifically about the North Fork, and we had some poetry shared as well, all based on people's experiences around the Shenandoah River largely, and then also more narrowly on the North Fork. And so we kicked off the evening with that. We had some passive and active education opportunities to teach people a little bit more about the North Fork of the Shenandoah watershed broadly, and what Friends of the North Fork does also within the watershed. And then we got to hear from Joshua Vanna, who's a wonderful live artist, who played guitar and sang some songs he had written, did some river song covers, and enjoyed marvelous beer at Pale Fire Brewing.
You really did check all of the coolness boxes.
I agree. I like to be humble, but I think it was a really fun event.
Now, from the storyteller perspective, how do you get your storytellers? Do you hope they show up that night, or do people like apply in advance?
I wish that would work, but I think the reality is it's good to have a commitment ahead of time. Right now, we have a space on our website where you can learn more about how to enter stories. So if anyone listening is keen to share experiences, they could be anything from a hilarious story, maybe a little bit scary of a story, to poetry or music written around the river. You can send that entry submission to friends@fnfsr.org and a short blip of what the story is about. And then I, as program coordinator, will connect with you to learn more about it and see if you can perform at the event. We also have an opportunity to have people share their stories, but if they have a little bit of stage fright or can't make it to the event, we can have one of our marvelous staff members read or do a reading of that as well.
I love that idea because a lot of people want to tell their story, but they're not real big on actually telling their story. So having somebody else do it for them really does kind of take the pressure off.
It does, yeah. Oh, and one thing I will note also that is central to all of the events that was a part of the Pale Fire event is the opportunity that arises from coming to an event like this to connect with other people who love the river, who recreate around the river. And so a big part of it that I failed to mention earlier is that so many wonderful conversations were had. Like I personally had them, and I heard anecdotal story evidence from other people there too, saying that they were able to connect with someone they hadn't previously met or hadn't seen in ages because of COVID. So the community part of these events is really important, and I think central to the entire purpose as well.
And I think the outdoors in general, and for us in this area, the North Fork had a moment during COVID because it was one of the few places that you could actually get out of your house and go without being concerned of being in a crowd. I'm sure a lot of people were introduced to the river for the first time, maybe.
Certainly, yes. And I know that to be true specifically for Seven Bend State Park, but for state parks all throughout the state. We, as Friends of the North Fork, have a sort of sister organization that's actually like a committee of our organization, Friends of the North Fork, that is Friends of Seven Bend State Park. And I heard from a lot of those committee members and people working at the park as state park employees, that they had wonderful numbers, and they just opened their doors officially, in 2020. So that's a part of it, but they were inundated in a really positive way.
Yeah, who knew opening a park in the middle of a pandemic was going to be such a big deal?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I know you've got two more of these Voices of the Shenandoah coming up. You've got one at Backroom Brewery in Warren County in August and one at Swover Creek Farms in Edinburgh in September. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, can you tell me what people can expect at both of those events?
Most certainly.
We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We are pre-recording our conversation today with Mariama Dryak. She is the program coordinator for the Friends of the North Fork of the Shenandoah River. We're going to talk more about their upcoming Voices of the Shenandoah program when we come back in just a couple of minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a Quick Money Chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Thursday. As you are listening to the show today, we have pre-recorded our conversation. We are chatting today with Mariama Dryak. She is the program coordinator for the Friends of the North Fork of the Shenandoah River organization. And Mariama, we were talking about your newest program, Voices of the Shenandoah. You were telling me how well it went at Pale Fire Brewing in July. You've got one coming up in my backyard at Backroom Brewery on August 13th from 5 to 8. Give me the details for what people can expect at that event.
Most certainly. So similarly to the Pale Fire Brewing event, of course, we'll have featured marvelous brews from Backroom Brewery. And we will kick off the evening with stories from different people. I know we have 2 singer-songwriter acts lined up already with original music related in some way to the North Fork, so that's exciting. And we will have some poems and stories as well. Again, if you're interested in submitting a story, we would love to have you and share what you have to share about your connection to the river. And then after that, we have a very exciting artist performing, a band called Prince Bella Rose. And Prince Bella Rose is a band from Harrisonburg that is a fusion of a whole bunch of marvelous different vibes of music. So they describe themselves as oscillating between passionate soul ballads and psychedelia-inspired rock. And they have some really marvelous lead guitar work. And I'm just really excited to hear their performances. They will be ending the evening for those last 2 hours. And it should be a marvelous time. I keep using the word marvelous, but what better word is there for it?
Works. It fits for what people should expect. And then at Swover Creek Farms, you're going to be there on Friday, September 17th. What is that night going to look like?
Very similar in format in that we have already not an entirely full docket. Again, we're still taking stories, but we have a broad smattering of stories to be shared there. And both of these venues, both Backroom and Swover, have a really cool combination of inside-outside space. So these will be family-friendly events. And then after the stories shared at Swover Creek Farms at the start of it, we will be hearing from Katie and Kelly, who are a sister duo from Northern Virginia, who do some really cool Americana roots style music as well.
So, how terrible was it for you to have to go to these three breweries and make sure that they had good beer and that the space was okay? That sounds like the worst job on the planet.
Oh my goodness. It was I had to have people twist my arm pretty pretty hard. No, I loved it. It was really fantastic to be able to see different venues throughout the valley because we wanted a good geographic distribution, to have people be able to access it closely throughout the valley. And just the quality of brewing here is really one to write home about.
And I've not been to Pale Fire Brewing. I have been to Backroom. Billy and I are dear friends. I help her with her marketing and her social media stuff. And I've been to Swaver Creek Farms. It's really cool that they are that indoor, outdoor barn, grow your own kind of vibe, which ties in so perfectly to the river and the nature that comes with that.
It totally does. Yeah. And it's really wonderful how keen all of the venue folks that I've spoken with so far have been to share that space too. They've just been really excited about it and fully embraced the opportunity to celebrate the river in the way that we're doing that.
Now, does it cost anything for someone to come that night and just partake of the festivities?
No, these events are entirely free to attend. Friends of the North Fork always appreciates donations if you have money or time to spare in terms of volunteering, but entirely free. You might want to get some of the beer, so that might be a minor cost, or chocolate milk if you have kids,
Yeah.
but free, yes.
I will tell you, Billy's got great food at Backroom Brewery, in addition to fantastic beer. I think the lemon basil wheat is now back on tap. And Swaver Creek has the best pizza on the planet.
Certainly agree. Yeah, the food options here are so cool. And it's cool that some of the produce is coming right from those places too and being used in their cooking.
So, what do you need aside from people to pack the place and drop a couple of bucks in a donation bucket when they come to these last two events? What else can people do to help support your organization? Money? Do you need stuff? Do you need bodies? What do you need to help support Friends of the North Fork of the Shenandoah River?
Great question. So, we are really focused on action and action through education and community action around volunteering to help install these things called riparian buffers, which are areas along the river planted in trees, but the trees don't plant themselves. Yet once they are planted, they act as a really great filter of runoff before it reaches the river. And so things like riparian buffer zones are important to river health and therefore important to human health because we are so very much composed of water. And there are a lot of communities along the North Fork of the Shenandoah and broadly in the Shenandoah Valley who are taking their water directly from the Shenandoah River. And that's where we're getting anything we're using. Like, let's say in Woodstock, Winchester, Strasburg are some examples of places that pull directly from the North Fork. If you're showering or drinking any water, it's coming from there. So we need help to install riparian buffer zones. We are also doing this wonderful program of benthic macroinvertebrate monitoring right now. So that's a mouthful, right? I'll break it down. Benthic is something found on the bottom of a river. Macro is like a large invertebrate which doesn't have a spine. So we're looking for little bugs in the river, at the bottom of the river. It's a fun time. We go out with nets and we collect these little bugs to see what species are there. And the species themselves indicate river health because we have really sensitive bug species and we have really insensitive bug species. So if we're finding some sensitive bug species, we can say something great about river health. But if we have a lot of pollution tolerant organisms, we might be asking questions about what they're being affected by, and therefore can understand where maybe bits of the river need help and understand, what the condition of the water that we rely on is looking like. So we do that. And I also am always looking for education volunteers and people keen to help educate adults, kids, everywhere in between, because I run a lot of education programming in schools, in community spaces. And so Those are some examples, but we always have other things going on too. Seven Bend State Park does invasive species removal. We do hikes. We run photography workshops. I could talk about this for ages.
Well, and I would guess too that those first two projects that you mentioned, you don't even really probably have to have any experience, because if somebody shows up, you're going to show them what to look for and how to do it.
Entirely correct. Thanks for pointing that out. It sounds like something you need specialized skills for, but really we just need people who are enthusiastic about the river, because we have training programs, we have people who can show you how to do it. And honestly, besides, showing up and being ready to enjoy live music, or showing up and perhaps donating some funds if you have them, we just need enthusiasm around the river and people to talk about the importance of water to our day-to-day lives. And the more we have people spreading that enthusiasm, I think the more we can more actively advocate for the water and its resources.
Yeah, checks with commas are always nice, but if you could get a bunch of people, if 10 people would tell 10 people, then it would help spread the word so much easier.
Most certainly.
So where can people get more information about the programs, about volunteering? Do you have a website? Do you have social media? Give me all of those places.
We do. So you can check out our website at F as in Frank, nfsr.org. We have several different sections where you can learn more about the history of our organization. You can learn about upcoming events. You can learn about what we have been doing through our news section. And there are multiple different ways you can learn more about how to get involved in terms of volunteering, education, etc. We're also on Facebook at Friends of the North Fork of the Shenandoah River, and on Instagram as well.
And that's one of those easy things that you just mentioned. If somebody goes and follows you on Facebook and on Instagram and just shares or reposts, that helps you as much as somebody who may drop $1 in a bucket.
100%, because we're sharing education on there. We're sharing volunteer opportunities, most certainly.
Well, Mariama, thank you so much for telling me all about this series. I will definitely see you at Backroom in August, and I am excited to have the whole barn packed with people who want to learn more about the river and help protect the river.
Woo, me too. I'm excited to see you there.
I will be back tomorrow. I have a brand new episode of The Valley Today ready to go for you. Tomorrow, we're going to switch gears just a tad, and we are going to be talking about a new app that Shenandoah University has put together that is going to bring alive Civil War history at the Battle of Cool Spring. So we're going to be talking with the makers of that app tomorrow so that you can get out this weekend and test the app yourself. So meet me back here for that conversation tomorrow, just a few minutes after noon.